Guys, I've had a lot of over-the-top knives on the channel, but I've never had one that was too big for my hand to completely wrap around and made me walk with a limp because it was so heavy. So let's turn this around and take a look at this piece of insanity right here.
We have got to talk about this knife. Now, I've had this here for a while. I have not carried it a lot, but we are going to look at the Dirk Pinkerton design proponent, and it's got to be one of the most over-the-top and insane knives that Artisan has ever made. So this is a new release of a knife that they've had for a while. I remember seeing the proponent the first time I ever met the guys at Artisan. It was at USN, I believe. And this is just the newest version of it. It is the same overall knife, but they've done some different things. They've done it in some more different materials. It's an S35VN and titanium now. It's got this checker pattern on it. So this is a big knife, but it is beautifully done. That beautiful fuller that is completely mirror polished, and then a really fine satin on that blade. So really cool. Now this is a big knife, big and beefy. So I'm going to tell you right now, it's 9 inches, but this thing is heavy. Let's get some specs out of the way. So you've got a 3.85 inch blade. So it's not a huge blade. And then you've got a long handle on this. So the handle is coming in with your overall length. It's coming in at 8.85 inches. So you've got a 5-inch blade on this, basically, when you look at it. The big one that's on it is that it's 10.5 ounces, 300 grams. It's a little more than 10.5. It's actually like 10.6 ounces on this. So it is really heavy. This is not just a knife that you're going to throw in your pocket, but it's an S35VN, titanium handles. It has got a really nicely done Warrenclyffe blade that, even for the fact it's a thick blade stock and a big beefy knife, this comes down to a relatively good overall cutting edge and behind the edge profile for something this big. It's done in a frame lock, and I've got to say, action on it is really good. Now, I'm going to say that while this might be out of a lot of people's wheelhouses, this is a very comfortable knife in hand, surprisingly for the size. And it is big and beefy. It is a chunky knife. As you can see, I've got big hands. It fits my hands really well. You've got a lot of ample jimping on the spine of this. Let's do a quick size comparison just for fun. We'll only grab a couple. Benchmade 940, you can see it's a good bit bigger than the 940. This is not a little knife. Like I said, just shy of 9 inches. So, and then your last knife, as always, Chris Reeves Sebenza large 21. This is a knife a lot of you guys are going to know, and you can see this is still bigger. So let's get this out of the way. We're going to talk about some really cool things about this knife. So I got to say, I'm really impressed with how much I do like this knife, even though it's kind of crazy. Well, I do like the crazy and over the top stuff. Surprised how well it carries for a knife that is 10 ounces, over 10 ounces. Thumb studs on it work really well. Great access to the lock bar. Substantial handles that are fairly comfortable in hand. But the big standout is how useful this blade really is. I haven't done a lot of heavy cutting with it because I'm not going to lie. I like this knife to look the way it does. Not that it's a safe queen or anything, but I've tried to maintain the finish on this because it is just an attractive, interesting knife. But the blade does work really well. You can reverse flick off the thumb studs. Like I said, the actual overall profile of the blade is really good as far as how it transitions down to still being very functional, even though it is a monster of a knife. I mean, just look at how thick the blade is. The blade is almost on the mat 2 inches in width, like from cutting edge to spine. So it's a big blade, but that also means that it transitions down really well. The handles on this are milled really well. So it's got this really cool frag pattern in it, but it's not done in a fashion where it is hot spotty. You know what I mean? It's not sharp anywhere on this. A lot of times when people do these frag patterns, they don't soften the corners of these, and it tears up material, tears up pockets. It's uncomfortable in hand. They did a really good job with doing the pocket clip on an area where it's not going to be in a groove of the frag pattern, which would put additional tension to make it a little bit more difficult to get in and out of pocket. This slides in and out of pocket brilliantly, really, really nicely. And another cool feature that they did on this, which let me go grab it. Another cool feature, like I was saying, is this secondary pin that you can then screw in. You can see this goes through here and basically turns this knife into a fixed blade. So you've got that through there. So even if you happened to accidentally, disengage the lock, that would prevent that from then becoming a knife that might close on you. And you can then wrap through here and use that like a lanyard if you're going to be doing a lot of chopping to prevent the knife from coming out of your hand. It's actually a functional piece then at that point, which I know you've seen that probably if you watched Forged in Fire at any point. When they do heavy chopping, they make sure they have a lanyard on it to prevent that knife from flying out of hand. So a lot of really cool features on this. I dig this a lot. I'm really surprised at how much I really like this knife. So with anything, even as cool as this is and as much as I dig it, there's a couple problems with it. There really are. So let's go ahead and you guys listen to a sponsor real quick, and I'll tell you what I found that I don't like about this knife. Guys, did you know that Coffee Brand Coffee has more than just awesome on-demand roasted coffees and flavored coffees? They also have tea, cocoa, cold brew bags, decaf, and they have premium candies that will make your family go nuts. So check them out with the link down below to save 10% on some of the best coffee you're going to find. So first and foremost on the negative, this thing is way, way, way heavy, and it could have been mitigated. As you can see, this is titanium, so it's a little bit lighter than if this was done in brass, which I've seen one of these in brass, and I'm going to tell you right now, that's real heavy. They could have done some weight reduction on this, which would have made this like that would have been cool. If you have something that's this big, but then you had a significant amount of weight reduction that made it not as heavy, I think that would have made this knife more approachable to a lot of people. Next thing, there is kind of a hot spot. Can you see how far that drops in? So this is about 50% lockup, which I don't have a problem with a knife that has 50% lockup. I've had several knives that their entire lifetime, and I've had them for years, were at 50%, but that drops in and that kind of leaves you an area that you can just kind of butt up against that with your finger. It's not super sharp, but it is noticeable. Now there is another thing here that I will tell you is a hot spot, and it's the pocket clip. The pocket clip, while it's really attractive, it's very functional, it's nice in and out of pocket. For some reason on this knife, that broad pocket clip in my hand digs in right here. And I think it's just because it's just so big and it goes so far up. And where it's at on the knife compared to where my hand is, it puts it at an angle where it just is right there in my hand. So I wouldn't want to do a lot of heavy cutting or chopping with this pocket clip. I may take the pocket clip off. I can reverse it. I'll see if I like it left-handed, because really, to tell you the truth, this isn't going to spend that much time in my pocket if you want to know the truth. An aesthetic thing that I've noticed, and I was trying to avoid having it come out on camera real clearly. The thumb studs have got two different finishes on them. Now I can easily fix that myself. I'll toss them in a tumbler. I'll do a fine tumble on them, but that is a little bit weird that I have one that has two different finishes on it. Now there is also no place to put this if you've got the knife in the closed position, except to actually screw it in its hole, which would keep it from coming open if you threw this in a pack, which that might be something you want. But then you can't deploy the knife rapidly. So if you're carrying it in your pocket, you would have to take this out, then deploy it. And if you're carrying this in your pocket for a self-defense tool, well, that's kind of problematic. And then that leads to you maybe losing this. And then the final thing on it. This is the first of the Pinkerton designs that I've had come in that the jimping was kind of soft. It's big enough that it's still functional, but it's a little soft. You see how it's been rounded over. Almost every other Pinkerton design I've ever had in hand has super aggressive jimping. Not that you really need it on this. It does give it a gear pattern look. And it's not horrible, but I'm just kind of surprised for a Pinkerton design that the Jimping on this is a little softer than I would expect. Now, overall, this is an amazing over-the-top knife, and I do dig it a lot for just for the sheer cool factor. It's absolutely a yup. So with that being said, guys, that's the end of this video. Let's turn this around. We'll do some final thoughts, and I'll send you out about your day. I'll make sure there's a purchase link for this down below.
I have to be honest, guys, for all the problems and all the things about this that just make it not a real practical everyday carry, I absolutely love it. This thing's great. I'm keeping this for a long time. I don't think this is ever going to go anywhere just because it is so over the top, and it's still a really good design. The Pinkerton designs always seem to appeal to me. So with that being said, guys, that's the end on this one. Already a little bit long because we talked about a bunch of cool stuff at the beginning. So if you like the videos, thumbs up. You don't like it, thumbs down, but tell me why. You know that there's sponsors. I put a video in for a sponsor. There's links down below. For all three of them. Two of them have discount codes built into the links. Crazy Coffee Brand Coffee and Temper Trails, 10% at checkout. You can still save 40% at Beyond EDC with my coupon code Crazy Sharp, all one word, all lowercase. That also works at Fair and Forge Knife Works and Rosecraft Blades. I have got affiliate links for most of the major vendors, so you're gonna buy knives. Take a look in the description. Find my shopping links. Those will absolutely support the channel, not cost you anything at checkout. And you're going to buy knives anyway. I also have an Amazon store. That's down below. Take that link, put it in your browser, use it for all your Amazon shopping. Check out the public Discord. It says join the community down there. Join that. Let's hang out. That's an easy way to get a hold of me if you've got questions about stuff that you saw on the channel, or if you've got suggestions for videos. That's a good way to do it because there's a DM function on there. And I have got a membership. There's a link to that down below. Everyone has access to my Gilded server, the private Discord. I do exclusive content, I do giveaways, and there's a premium tier sharpening tutorial series there as well. Guys, that's it on this one. I love you. I'll keep it clean in the comment section. If it's your birthday, happy birthday. And I'll see you in the next video.